Okay, it's Sunday night. It's give or take 10:25, and I've been perusing a little bit of Man Loez. Before that, I was perusing a little bit of Zara Shimshon on the Yitzhak. It's the only copy they have the art scroll here, and I was thinking, might pay to know that seems so it's my Babas Parsha. I guess I should go about this, but they have the Zara Shimshon art scroll by Yitzhak here. After my parents told me I should learn it. My day so far was Shachar Kotel, then coming back here and doing the Kshodat Smachal, or Kshodat Cherim. Then I went back to the old city trying to get lunch at Chabad, but it was too late. There was just couscous left, petitim. So I ended up getting a burger and fries and Coke at Burger's Bar, ate it later, and then went back to the Ramban and tried to read Chok. Got up to the Mishnah part, and we took a nap. Woke up around 5 and decided to come back here to meet up with Shmuel Diamond to get the last payment for typing up some Chaim stuff. We discussed some Microsoft Word stuff in Hebrew, and we talked a little bit about translating Shem Olam, where the Chofetz Chaim works, but decided for now we're going to put off. And so I'm going to try reading a little bit of Meam and try translating it. First off, I'm going to have to open up Safari because the first word right away I don't even know. Sorry, just dealing with the WhatsApp here, my other phone. My WhatsApp's on the phone that doesn't have internet. I'm using my phone that I'm recording off of with a Wi-Fi hotspot. So I get internet on here and get my WhatsApps. I gotta look at Pasuk. It's I guess it's Haazinu. It's Parak on the Bays. Pasuk Bays. It's Yarov Kamater Likri. I don't know the translation, so I'm gonna look it up in Safaria as English. Sorry, just trying to get an appointment with the doctor to see about my antidepressants. I think it's actually a big joke, and it's like antidepressants to deal with my poverty and my housing situation and my lack of dates. If I was happier, I'd find a wife. I don't know if I was more of a social butterfly, but if I was more of a social butterfly, then I'd find a woman who was a social butterfly, and then I'd have serious doubts about her faithfulness. I don't want a woman who's necessarily a homebody, but a woman with a career and a little bit of a social life. Lauren seems to be mostly friends with women. I don't want to get into the problems that we have in our relationship because, well, there doesn't really seem to be much of a relationship. Yarav Kamoter Likhi made my discourse come down as the rain. Tizal Katali Mrasi. My speech distills the dew. I think I have it back. Oh no, not there is rain. Okay, may my discourse come down as the rain. Yarav Kamoter Likhi. May my discourse come down as the rain. I really do like that girl. I don't know why God put it in me that I really like her. There have been very few women in my life that I really liked. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's another girl, Hani. I think she's a very picky eater. She's a kindergarten teacher as far as I know. She's quite cute. If I knew how to get her on my side, put Lauren's side. Just because she's smaller than me, versus Lauren is bigger than me. There's a lot of women out there. I just don't know how to get one to be my wife. I mean, Gemara says clearly that, or there's a Mishnah, Isha Nikdas Pesach Shtar Bia, Pesach Shtar Bia. A woman is, so to speak, required with money and with a document and with marital intercourse, marital relations. But I can't seem to get to that point. It's like, do I hand a woman a gold ring and just say you are my wife? No, it's supposed to be done under the chuppah. How do you get a woman to date to agree with, that you're a guy worth dating, a guy worth living with. Moving on to Loez, he says, may it be the will, I guess God's will, that the words that I say in front of you, they shouldn't be wasted. They should, tofu, I don't know what that means, let's look that up in Google Translate. Tofu belibchem. I don't know. They will touch your heart. Like this rain that is mechalchel. Another word I can look up. Permeable. Sorry, still looking over WhatsApp. Oh, and a reminder to take my antidepressant. I don't take my nutritional supplements anymore. In fact, I'm surprised they even had some sulfur. I went out and got new sheets, first time I've ever eaten there. I wasn't totally disappointed, but I mean, for the price, it's like, if I ever have a wife, how the heck am I going to afford to feed us? But considering it's rice and raw fish, and a little bit of vegetables, the amount I paid, you could get like a couple of kilo of rice and some salmon. And, just video sending it to this guy. His father's a doctor, so he's going to check my status. See about a refill on the antidepressants. Sending the WhatsApp for that. Video in video, picture in picture, something they were doing in TVs probably 20 or 30 years ago. Okay, so may my words, touch your heart like the rain permeates the earth. And it gives birth and causes to grow various different things, like grass, and flowers, and fruits, and vegetables. Well, not for me, because I don't have great thought. Nothing grows for me. How did he translate that? He says, my speech distill as the dew. That's Safari again. Yudvari katal hazeh, may my words be like this dew, Mirani Nisaperos, which, Mirani. Let's see what Mirani is. Is refreshing, refreshes the fruits, Masbia, and satisfies Machaya and gives life, Osam to them. Kan Ramos Moshe, Israel here, Moshe hinted to the Jews, Yidnu Bedatem, they shouldn't form in their thoughts and their minds, Keish Toelis Lakadosh Baruch Hu, Shalom Torah mitzvahs, that God has some sort of purpose in our guarding the Torah and mitzvahs. El Yedu shall call it Toelis Yisrael. Others should know that everything is for the purpose of the Jews. Confusion is part of the or the Parshas Kitetse. Like was explained in the explanation for the Parsha of Kitetse, mitzvah Shiluch came with regards to the mitzvah of sending the mother bird. But there is a mitzvah said explicitly in the Torah that if you find a mother bird on her nest with eggs there, and you shoot the mother bird, and you take the eggs. So then there's a mitzvah. You have sent away the mother bird, you take all the eggs, and you're guaranteed long life. And it is, however, brought in 3 different Gemaras that I'm aware of. Kedushin, I think it's in Kulin, and also in Giga, where a father instructed his son to climb a tree and show away the mother bird and take the eggs, and then after he had done that, he fell to his death. And the Gemara says, well, these are 2 mitzvahs, which says explicitly that if you do these, you will have long life. How is it possible that the kid did the 2 mitzvahs that says long life and immediately died? Of course, last week or 2 weeks ago, I was asking Shammai, or Shammai Siskin is like the official rabbi. It's like, well, there's actually a 3rd one. I didn't come up with it. I forget which lecture I was listening to, saying, there's a 3rd mitzvah that says that long life is guaranteed. Really, these 2 it's spoken about for some reason, and that one is not spoken about. It's not like it's said that those 2 are the only 2, but he had done 2 mitzvahs that it says long life, and he fell to his death. Not that these are the only 2. So, moving along. About this, the prophet hinted and said, that when the rain and the snow comes down from heaven, and there it's not going to return. I guess the rain and the snow don't return to heaven, which is not entirely true, because it all goes in a cycle. The airflow picks up the moisture in the air and makes it into clouds, and then it comes down. But I guess it doesn't go in the exact place. It's the exact drops that fall on a specific place in the earth. They don't go back to the same exact place in the clouds, and they don't come down back to the exact same place in the earth. It's a cycle, but it's not necessarily in the exact same place. It's not their purpose to return to heaven. Here he's saying they don't return to heaven, to whatever, the sky. But it doesn't happen right away. It does take a while. So, it's not the purpose of the rain and the snow to return to the sky, but rather to quench the earth and to make things grow. So too, my words that exit from my mouth, they will not return to me. Because there's no purpose above. The entire purpose, the entire end goal, is to do what God wants. That's the whole purpose. And that's what Moshe said to the Jews. May my words come down, may my speech come down like rain, and not, God forbid, for purpose above. For your good, and for your pleasure. And that's what the verse says when it says, when I call upon the God's name, when I proclaim, when I make known the name of God, may He be blessed in the world. Give greatness to God. Recognize that the greatness is God, is our God, and He has no need for us, or for you rather. It's Moshe talking to the Jews. Another reason why Torah is analogous to dew and rain. So the person should say, Emo Bator and Sheherva Tzimoni. The person should say, I'm going to work in Torah until my thirst is quenched. So the person shouldn't say, I'm going to go learn a number of years, and then afterwards I'm going to go deal with my house's needs. And then I'll never return to Torah. But rather just, occasionally. You have a lot of people, I actually really respect them. People who hold down day jobs, do shoppers to the minyan, and they go to a shir once a week, or they go to a daf yomi once a day. But they're it's kaviyus. Kirkei says, I say Torah's kavah. You should have a kaviyus in your Torah learning. I don't have that anymore. My life is a disaster right now. I mean, it always seems to be in some sort of flux, but I had a good number of years where I had like a set, like I was doing Hulk every day right after lunch at Chabad. I really want to get back into it. I just got to figure out my finances. Thankfully, I got paid for the time typing. Put a few shekels in my pocket, but it's like, okay, October rent is dealt with, but what about November rent? You know, what about if I ever encounter a woman who wants to marry me? You know, if she's got a career, is she going to be okay that I can just provide the bare minimum of my own upkeep, let alone, be the provider in the home? But that's assuming I ever find a woman like that. Assuming I ever find a woman who's willing to talk to me again. Kenegdo Marcos. So regarding this, a person who says he's going to learn and then is basically going to abandon Torah except for once in a while, or the verse says, Yarov Kamatali, he made my speech come down like rain. Tezo Katari Masi. Let's see exactly what it says in Sefaria. My speech distill as the dew. Shem Shem Matar Malachlech Ba'aretz Shemarvo Stop. Just like the rain soaks the earth until it quenches the earth's thirst. But most in the rainy season. Although arts and shares believe but the earth doesn't remain without moisture in the summer. You have dew that comes down all summer. So too, the Torah doesn't abandon those who study it, and you should go back on it always. You should always review. I was actually I was watching the Daf Yomi from Stefanski last night. I'm guessing it was Fridays or Thursdays. It was about 12 if I'm not mistaken. And he was saying Arias was fun, but if you want to go back and do it, it'd be murder. Because it's just like the first time, it's like, okay, big deal, you go through it, but then you want to analyze it. I don't know, I didn't do Arias. I read like the first Amud or something in the MDY Gemara. And it didn't seem that interesting. It didn't seem uninteresting, but it didn't seem that interesting. That was the end of that. But it's like Erevin. You have to read like 20 times just to get a clue what's going on. You say there's 3 Masachtas that spell the word Ani. And it's just, you're so poor in Torah learning when you look at them. It's Yevamos and Erevin and Nida. Those 3 Masachtas are just so hard. And I've tried learning the first mission in Yevamos, and it's like, I don't know what's going on. Chagiga, that was relatively simple. I mean, the topics mentioned are not necessarily that simple, but the way it's expressed in Chagiga are pretty simple. Moving on in Loez. So just like the rain comes down, Bezaf, I'm guessing it's like an abundance or a storm or something. Let's take a look at the translation on the word Zav. Thank God for Google Translate. Spell it right? Nope. Zav. In rage. Rain comes down in rage. Toronto, you do have that. I don't know about in Israel. I don't really remember. I mean, here you do have some rainstorms, but it's not as often. Toronto, you get rainstorms all the time. Lots of places outside Israel, you have tons of rain. I don't know why this country has so little rain. So I pray for rain. I remember growing up, it's one of the things about Israel, you gotta pray that Israel gets rain. Otherwise, nothing's gonna grow. There's not gonna be water to drink. There's not gonna be plumbing. It's it's not pretty. And then afterwards, you have the dew. The rain comes down in rage. And then afterwards, you have the dew. So after the rain caused herbage to grow, then comes the dew. So to utar, Yesh lomod Torah. Arts, v'chesh gadol. So in youth, you have to learn Torah. I know he says the word art, but with chesh gadol, with immense desire. That may my speech distill as the dew. It is such a concept, if you study a lot of Torah in your youth, when you get older, you can review it, you can find new things in it, it's not just the simple thing. Like I was looking up, when I was reading the Zerach Shimshon, he mentions the pasuk by Avram, that God causes Avram to fall into a deep sleep. And I was like, really? Avram he was put to sleep by God? I remember that by Adam. Adam was put to sleep. God took his Selah, side, or his rib, whatever you want to translate it as, and from there he created Chava, created Eve. But then Avram was put into a deep sleep, and even he's talking about the Yaakov was like put into a deep sleep. I was like, I don't remember these things. But Yitzhak was my Barizah Parsha. But if you learn it as a youth, and you go back on it, you can see new things in it. Like right now, my main thrust is to find a wife. Why? Because for the last 20 years, I've been a horny 20 to 40 guy, and I could never find satisfaction. Not never. My first girlfriend provided a lot of satisfaction. It's just I never bothered to. Nothing that bothered it. It's to see how we could survive as a couple if we married. I very, 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 very much regret that. It's like maybe I would have learned faith in God had I gotten married and worked a day job and somehow get by with her. I don't know. Here's hoping that Lauren or Connie or Shani Levy or whoever puts their faith in God that I'm the right guy. It doesn't blame me when things go wrong, but turns to God. It says by Avram and Sarah, when they wanted a child, or maybe it's by Yitzhak and Rivka, when they wanted a child, each one would go to their corner and they would pray. Pray God, please, God, give us a child. I assume they also cohabit. If they didn't bother to have sex, it's like, well, who can you blame, right? It's like, this joke about, Hicks or something. They go to the doctor, it's like, doctor, I don't understand, why am I not getting pregnant? Which hole's he going in? It's like, you can't really blame stupidity. You can't really blame God if you're not doing at least the minimum, going the right hole. I was out there on the steps for like a couple of years trying to talk to every woman that passed by, whether in English or Hebrew. Other times, French women. Hi, are you Jewish? Are you single? Can we go out? Basically getting nowhere. Not completely, but just nowhere in your marriage. Omer Ksirim Alidesha. He says like Sihirim Alidesha. I don't know what that is, but here he says like showers on young growth. Shalotia Torah Kamatar period. Eretz Yivesha. So the Torah shouldn't be like rain that falls on dry land. I knew it shouldn't be that the Torah comes before your fear of sin. Maybe that was another problem I had, is that my fear of sin is very, very slow in coming. I mean, I have fear of certain things, like I don't want to be with a married woman, and I don't want to break Yom Kippur, even though I seem to think it's going to be very likely. And milk and meat. I mean, I'd like to say it doesn't interest me, but it's not entirely true. Same with pork. Pork definitely doesn't interest me, although I do go for pepperoni pizza. Although I haven't had it in years. But something I don't understand is why none of the go-to pizza places have fake pepperoni. I have an email, and it is from Musar. Okay, it does not seem to answer what I was asking. Let me just put away my reminder if they landed persons. Okay, let's read a little bit more. We're already at the 25-minute mark. By Kervivim Ali Asev, let's see what the translation of that is. like droplets on the grass. Vivim ali'esav, like droplets on the grass. Shator shnimshel tal leiterid al adam atzmeah. So the Torah, which is akin to dew, shouldn't come onto land that is thirsty. El shatira la'atzmeach kodem peros elu masir mitzvos. It should first cause fruits to grow, which is the act of the mitzvos. Mitzvos she'im kedesha akatzer v'shacharos. And the mitzvos, which are like short herbage, shacharos, is either dark or young herbage. Yuk Esav Agadol Bezikna rather should be like herbage that grows in old age. Tizal Torah al mitzvos. And then the Torah will go on the mitzvos Ketal al Esav, like dew on the herbage. Ladna Mubasmam, to make them, I guess, more refined and more fragrant. Oh, Divrei Torah Musar Shani Omer Lechem. The words of Torah and the words of rebuke that I say to you, Yerid Aleichem Kamata, they should go upon you like rain. Kashim Shamat, maybe Chaim Olam, the same as rain brings life to the world. Shibayin Matter. Shibayin Matter, Kol Art and Beshes. Without rain, all the land becomes dry. Choli Lanos, all Mayanos, all the trees, all the wells, Yamshin, they become dry. So too, the words of Torah bring life to the world. If you say, the cases are not so where she came. Not everybody becomes happy when the rain comes. I highly doubt homeless people are happy when the rain comes. I highly doubt that people who are walking, like I know many times, you get up in the morning, it's clear skies, you don't pack a rain jacket, you don't pack an umbrella, you don't pack waterproof pants or waterproof shoes, and the next thing you know, it starts pouring, and you're soaked, and you got this whole plan of the day ahead of you, and your day is shot to, because, you're soaked. Even my bag, I have extra clothes in there, but if, the stuff on top gets soaked, that ruin my whole day. Sheshivuro mali mayim, being gato mali yayin. You have this shvuro, which is full of water. I don't know what shvuro is. Let's look that up. Shvuro. Huh. Oh, shiboro. Silly rabbit tricks are for kids. Sheboro, that his bore, that his pit is full of water. Sometimes you gotta look at a word a number of different ways before you know what it's talking about. Between gato maliyayin, you have this guy's wine press is full of wine. Vageshem mitzaro so, and the rain bothers him. Shegorim lo Torah, beino tzorchlo, causes him to work. He doesn't need it. I guess if the rain isn't so clean, it can dirty his well water, his pit. And the same with his wine. Even if the rain is perfectly clean, it'll dilute his wine. I know here in Israel, I have many times seen rain come down and it is brown droplets, from dust in the air, from dirt in the air. That is not drinkable. My chair, my jacket, a couple of drops and it's dirt. My chair becomes brown. And my jacket gets dirt spots on it. My nice brand new leather jacket last year. It's all these rain spots on it, and it's not clear rain. Thankfully it's not acid rain, but it's dirty. It's got dirt in the water. You can't drink it. That may my words, my speech, distill like dew. Shator teri benachas, that the Torah should come down pleasantly, like the dew. Shakol smeichem boveinu gorim tzar. Everybody's happy about dew and it doesn't cause pain. I don't know if everybody's happy about it, but it definitely doesn't cause pain, you know. I mean, like, even if you're in a place that's lush and there's plenty of dew, and you go and sit down, you get a little wet, it can be a little bit disappointing, especially if it's a cold day. But on a warm day, who's gonna care? You know, it's not like stepping in a puddle. You know, the other day I was walking on the hotel, and I don't remember if I was wearing my boat shoes or if I was wearing sandals, and I stepped in a puddle. And I was like, gee, that's not pleasant. Thankfully the day warmed up, and by the time I got to the hotel, my pants and my shoes were dry. You know, as opposed to when I'm wearing my Doc Martens, my boots, and I've got thick socks on, and they're pretty much waterproof. I mean, not 100% on the rain, it's definitely gonna get wet, but to step in a puddle, first of all, it's got like an inch platform thing, so I get to feel taller, and I'm a little higher up from the puddles. It's one thing I'm looking forward to when the weather gets a little chillier. I get to wear my boots again, and I get better footing on the ground, and I feel a little taller because I get to be an inch plus taller. You know, I'm not that short, but still, I mean, 5'5.5" versus 5'6.5" makes a difference. I saw a girl today on my way to Nushi, and she was wearing Doc Martens. They weren't the Jadens and they weren't the Obrics, but they were platform boots, done in a very nice brown. You don't recognize what model they were, but they were very nice. Not as nice as a pair of Doc Martens platform Jadens I saw last summer and the summer before. Some girl, I don't know what she was. I mean, I imagine she was close to 20. I honestly don't remember. I just remember the boots and her jeans. They were Jadens in like a gray suede. And it was just, I googled it, and there was like one pair in my size available still. Because they're typically made for women. A 41 is very large for a woman. A size 8 men's is very large for a woman typically. But I couldn't justify the expense. It was like 800 or 1,000 shekel. I'm like, I don't need that. You know, I have my Obrics, or Audrix, whatever they're called, and I have a brand new pair of Jadens, which I'm waiting for the Audrix or Obrics, whatever they're called, to get a hole in them, which could happen in a month, could happen in a year, I don't know, and then move on to the Jadens, or back to the Jadens, because that was what I was wearing 2 years ago. But technically they are made for women, so I might actually be transgressing on the don't wear women's clothing thing. Heck, I even wonder about my sandals. I mean, they're sandals too. They're plain brown sandals. But technically, the style might be considered for women. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I haven't taken a poll. I haven't looked around to see who's wearing the majority of them. Well, I have noticed the majority of Doc Martens platform boots is worn by women. That's disheartening. Standard Doc Martens boots, they don't really interest me. They look like a military boot. They don't look fashionable. Although then again, maybe the whole concept of fashion is a woman's thing. That's why the king hired somebody to design for him all new clothes and ended up walking outside naked because, you know, he couldn't decide on fashion anymore. The only thing that was original was being naked. Everything else has just been done. I don't focus too much on fashion, but, you know, a little bit. I don't think it's, you know, retarded to try and dress well, but at the same time, it might pay to go back to the roots, you know, dress black and white or navy and white, you know. This is a very plain shirt. It's just got black stripes on it. My hat is a very plain beige. It just says, you know, make Israel great again with a flag. Okay, moving along. I think it's better than just lying in bed watching TV, but I'll probably be doing that in like 20 minutes. The tunnel. Oh yeah, it was also thinking when you go camping, you wake up in the morning, there's dew all over the place. I don't know. I mean, how fast does dew dry? Because I remember when we went camping in Ireland and packing up the tent and the tarp, and there was dew all over the place. I don't remember how long it took to dry. But Ireland, it tends to rain a lot, just like in England. And, I guess a little bit of dew didn't mean that much compared to whatever rain might be coming. Kasir Mahali Deshe. What's Kasir Mahali Deshe? He says, like showers on young growth. Kamo Hagishamim Hadakim, like the the thin rains, the Yordim Aladesha, that go down on the young growth, and they make them grow. You know, you have a little sprout, and you put a little bit of water on it, and it grows. I had a little plant. I found an abandoned plant by Ammunition Hill, I don't know how many months ago. And it was a very little plant, you know, maybe it was like an inch tall. But, you know, every day I would pour, you know, like an eighth of a cup of water on it. And after a little while, it grew up to be like 3 inches tall. And heck, if I still lived out there, I'd probably still be watering it every day and watching it grow and grow and grow. I had no idea what kind of plant it was. I don't remember. I know I tried Googling it back then, but so too the Torah matures or grows with those who learn it. Kervivim, and like droplets, katipe matar, like drops of rain, yordim koach, that come down heavily. Gili yorim bahem, like they're as if they're being shot. Relation Rova Keshes. This is the language of an archer. Shein Mechayim es Asavim, they give life to the herbage, to the grass. Kal Divri Torah Mechayim es Lamdim, so too the Torah gives life to those who study it. We'll do one more and then we'll call it a night. Vod Ma Matar Chaim La'olam. Just as rain is life for the world. After Torah, Chaim Olam, so too Torah is life for the world. Meam Tomar Variyesh Matar Hagorin Tsar. You know, if you say there is rain, which does cause pain, like I was saying, you know, about people go out their day and their plan for a dry day and it turns out to be rainy, or homeless people, you know, there are people sleeping on the street tonight. And the weather's relatively nice, you know. I don't envy them if they're homeless, but at the same time, it's like they have less to worry about. And if they're comfortable, they're comfortable. But when the weather changes and it starts becoming rainy and it starts becoming cold, then they're really in a pickle. You know, they're really up the creek. You know, they're going to have problems. They can get very, very sick. You know. And it's, you know, it's a little bit of an extreme case, but you know, you could have rain which, if it's dirty rain and it comes into your clean water well, or if you have an open container, open barrel of wine, you know, the flies are not, I mean, technically the flies aren't so great either. I don't know how, are flies attracted to wine? If you have a wine pit, a wine press, would the flies get attracted to it? In either case, the point being that rain going into it would not be that pleasant. Even if it's clean rain, it would dilute the wine. If it's clean rain, I don't see the problem with the wine, with the water pit. But he says, he says the water itself could cause the wine to go bad. The person's got a pit full of wine, and if the rain goes into it, it could cause the wine to go bad. So the verse says, may my words be like dew, just as dew, everybody's happy about it. So the Torah, everybody's happy about it. I don't think either one is absolutely true, but that's not my place. First of all, the teaching that, you know, you're obligated to procreate and you can't find a wife, is in Yom Kippur. You have to afflict your soul. You have to cause yourself discomfort on Yom Kippur. You have to walk around without leather shoes. You can wear plastic shoes, you can wear canvas shoes, you can wear wood shoes, you can wear, you know, rubber shoes. If you want, just wear 2-3 pairs of socks on top of each other, so you know. You're not allowed to eat, you're not allowed to drink, you're not allowed to have sex, you're not allowed to smoke, you're not allowed to, you know. I don't think anybody's looking forward to that. Divrei Torah, I mean, in Haazinu, it's probably not that discomforting. It's talking about what happened to Beis Hamikdash. you look at the laws of Yom Kippur in our day-to-day life, I don't think people are so happy about it. And Shabbos, don't do any work. Okay, so I have a day off. But, if I'm sitting at home all by myself, or even with friends, I'm not allowed to put on the TV, I'm not allowed to put on the radio, I'm not allowed to cook so I can eat and enjoy, I'm not allowed to oil the kettle so I can make a coffee or a tea, I'm not allowed to have a cigarette. I mean, there is a set of books over there, Shmir Shabbos Gilchasa, and I have maybe opened it like 5 times in my life, maybe 10 times, and I'm like, this is not so pleasant. This is going into the nitty-gritty of how petty God is. I was better off as a 20-year-old just chasing skirt. Would I have been better off had people sat me down and said, you should get married? I don't know, maybe I would have rebelled. I know I've had a few good Yom Kippurs in my life. In yeshiva where everybody is focused on, the prayers, and we want to be sincere before God. And we want God to see that we're sincere, that we really want to do what He wants. And please God, please bless us. We're sincere, we're innocent. That was a good Yom Kippur. Or one year I was a junior acting rabbi in a Chabad satellite north of Toronto, and I had a nicotine patch and I had a nicotine inhaler, and I was focused on saying all the words, and I was also focusing on helping make sure that everybody had a seat and everybody knew what page we were on, so I was very busy. Even like an hour after Yom Kippur was finished, I still wasn't that hungry when the senior acting rabbi put out food for me and him and maybe a couple other people. It's like, okay, I'll eat, but I'm not starving. Versus every other year, it's like Yom Kippur's coming along. It's like, first of all in the morning I want my coffee and I want cigarettes. And these days probably with a mint or two, because I don't really enjoy the taste of cigarettes anymore on their own, but I still enjoy the act of smoking. And then you get to synagogue and it's like I'm looking around. What God am I praying to? He acts within nature, which means get a job. And he acts within nature, so that means go out and meet girls and flirt and try not to be offensive and harassing. And he acts within nature so that, if you smoke, you're probably going to get cancer, be sick, and spend a lot of your time in the bathroom. And he acts within nature that there's buses and there's delays and day-to-day life. I mean, what God are we praying to? It seems to be, in Hebrew you have the gematria that Hateva is Elohim. So the nature is one of the names of God. So an aspect of God is nature. Okay, so who am I praying to? You can't rely on a miracle, that's what the Talmud says. So who am I praying to? I don't know what I'm doing anymore. They got all these books telling me what my obligations are, what's forbidden to me. Occasionally what's in the realm of neither that nor that. What's simply permitted. And that's in the realm of nature. I'm reading a storybook that doesn't seem factual. Maybe that's why, Christian censors blocked it for so many years, or all these books. I don't know. I don't understand anything. And those who try to explain it to me, I keep saying, you try to explain it to me, but you can't produce it to that student, which would mean I'd be able to get a bank account. You can't go like that and give me a career wherein I'd be able to make a lot of money, put it into my bank account, and go rent myself a nice apartment. And you can't produce for me a wife. You can't go like that or reach out to all your contacts and say, is there a woman who's give or take 30 years old or a little bit younger, who's able to have kids and wants to live with this guy? His whole life's on the internet. You want to know anything about him, you just got to read his blog. It's not published right now, but for how many years was my blog published, talking about every intimate detail of my life, my day-to-day, where I've been, what I grew up in. Because frankly, what more does a prospective wife need, other than as I'm a Jewish guy who has a hard time making a living? I need a wife who knows how to make a living, and wants a man, make a family. Preferably, she's an attractive woman. Give or take 5'2", 5'3", 5'4", 5'5", something like that. And she's give or take somewhere between 90 and 120 pounds. Make a family. She's not overly heavy on top. She's not overly light on top. She's not, looks like a normal girl, normal woman. Make a family. She's so great at cooking. I don't really care. She's so great at cleaning. I don't really care. I care we're able to pay the bills. We're able to have a family. Great. I'll do the cooking. I'll do the shopping. I'm good at shopping. I'm okay with cooking. I'm not great, but I'm okay. I think I could cook for 5 even. I don't know if I do it every day. Yeah, probably every day. Why not? If she's bringing in the big bucks, and I stay at home and I learn and I cook, I clean. I'll figure it out. I could make enough money, could hire somebody to do the cleaning and cooking. A lot of people have them. My foster home, they had a woman there. I don't remember if it was Sunday to Thursday or Monday to Thursday or Monday to Friday. Cooked and cleaned. Filipino woman. So we had to turn on the stove for her. Other than that, she did everything herself. She knew. You don't mix milk and meat. Other than that, what else do you have to know in a kosher kitchen? She didn't do the shopping. She did the cooking. So you don't mix milk and meat. What else is there to know? It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. It's not like in Israel where you get Trimus and Meisters and Orla and Tevel and Damai and things like that. Kutzlart, anything like that. The food that's in the fridge, the food that's in the counter, the food's in the cupboards. You cook. And the story, it's pretty simple. Okay, let's see if I can finish this paragraph here. So he says, Torah, everybody's happy with it, just like Talmud, just like do. Here's a question. Why was Torah compared to rain? Right? It would have been sufficient to compare Torah to dew. Here you have a hint to what the rabbis said. The person should always study and then afterwards be involved. The verse says, the Torah of God was his longing, and in his Torah he will be involved day and night. First he should learn. And afterwards you can compare one thing to the next. So too the rabbis have expounded. Haskes v'shama tchilahas v'argach kases. I don't know what this Haskes is. It's probably also in this week's Torah portion. Let's take a look. Haskes. I don't know where it is. Haskes. I don't know. It's not a very long parsha, however it is longer than inside of Mohelach. Surprised it's not right away. Really, I'm gonna want to go back to the beginning and see what it says. Hey. Haazinu shmeim v'adaberes shma arts v'yar kolot v'lichi tizal b'talim haskasir ma'otezeh tesha kfir ma'liyisa shem shem akra v'yal leikeyu tzurtam b'lok k'choder chamisha k'lachmuna v'yinavel tzadik yoshru shichis loez b'anav mu'am dori kesh v'saltam Allah shem t'gulozos am navov v'cham lahu v'vichu v'necha v'chol chonecha choyim v'salam v'yusmat v'dor shalom v'chol yagecha Knecht ben Loch, aan Goy, Friedrich ben Adam, je take all samen in this part of Israel, Kigel Shem Hamo, Jacob from Haskell. I don't see this word Haskes. Not really sure where it is. And check see if Google Translate has a translation of Haas case. Haas case. Tract. I don't think that's correct. I think I'm also spelling it wrong now. We'll see what Haas is. Haas, no translation. And Ktat, Ksas, sect. As such, Torah is compared to rain that comes down in abundance. First, the person should learn lots, in abundance. And afterward, still my words like dew, not tell your tip, and just like dew descends drops. I've never seen dew descend, I've only ever seen it after the fact on the grass. So too, you should look deeply into each thing, shalom, that you learn v'chadish kedushim, and you should come up with new ideas, novel interpretations, katal, like do, tipin, drop, deeper meaning Torah, on everything from the Torah. Thank you for watching. I hope it was somewhat enjoyable and somewhat educational. Have yourself a great whatever it is for you, if it's day, night, all the best.